Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day and a wonderful week. Welcome to another episode of We Aren't Dead Yet. I'm Emily Armstrong, creator of the TTRPG system Quests and Quarrels, as well as the settings Beckettville, Culinary Punk, and Elder Space. I'm here with Dazzlecat.
Hello, I am Dazzlecat. I am the creator of the TTRPG Meaty Bones, as well as the worlds of Pangorio and Hypnosium. I am here with Safa.
Hi there, my name is Safa Burnell. I'm a best-selling cyberpunk and mythpunk author and an editor for a small press. I've been in the fiction sphere for more than 15 years, and I'm going to remind everybody today, don't worry, there's always something we can do, because we aren't dead yet.
In order to get right into the action, we'll be skipping our news segment today. In our previous episodes, we explored the foundations of a compelling one-shot, from brainstorming captivating ideas to crafting a core conflict that will keep your players engaged throughout the session. Today, we're turning our attention to the characters that populate your one-shot world, the non-player characters and the optional pre-made player characters. Just like in a well-written novel, populating your one-shot world with interesting characters goes a long way in making it truly unforgettable. So what are NPCs? Non-player characters, or NPCs, are the lifeblood of any TTRPG world. They are characters controlled by the GM, and they play a vital role in driving the narrative, providing information, offering challenges, and enriching the overall experience for the players. Think of them as the actors on your one-shot stage. Some NPCs might be friendly tavern keepers offering rumors, while others could be ruthless villains driving the central conflict. And what about pre-made characters? Pre-made player characters are predefined characters created by the GM. Players can choose from these pre-made options instead of spending time creating their own characters from scratch. This is particularly helpful for new players unfamiliar with the system or character creation process, time-crunched sessions where streamlining character creation allows for more gameplay, GMs who want to offer specific character archetypes that fit the one-shot's theme or narrative, and providing PCs already equipped and themed to the adventure as well as to the party. Thus, traditional enemy races will already have an established reason why they're willing to work together within the party. Think Gimli and Legolas, enemies together for a purpose and became friends.
Both NPCs and pre-made characters play a crucial role in one-shots. NPCs drive the narrative. They provide quests, information, or obstacles that propel the players forward. A cryptic message from a veiled figure sets them on the path to adventure, a wise scholar offers guidance on solving an ancient puzzle, or a desperate villager begs for help against a monstrous threat. All these elements create a compelling narrative arc for your players to follow. They create dynamic encounters. From helpful allies to cunning rivals, NPCs offer diverse interactions that keep the game engaging. A friendly tavern keeper might offer rumors and local lore, a shady merchant could sell valuable but potentially cursed equipment, or a double-crossing informant might lead the players into a trap. These encounters add variety and challenge to a one-shot. The NPCs breathe life into your one-shot setting, reflecting the culture, factions, and history of the world. A gruff dwarf part of the mountain pass speaks to the region's harsh environment. A flamboyant noble in a glittering city hints at the societal hierarchy, or a weary veteran with tales of past conflicts adds a sense of history to your one-shot world. Pre-made characters. They save time. Bypass character creation and jump straight into the action. This is particularly beneficial for one-shots where time is limited, allowing players to start role-playing and experiencing the adventure quickly. Players can focus on exploring their character's personality and decision-making within the predefined framework. Offer pre-made characters with diverse abilities and backstories to cater to different player preferences. Some players might enjoy a stoic warrior leading the charge in combat, while others might prefer a charismatic rogue navigating social situations. By providing a range of options, you ensure there's a pre-made character that resonates with each player on the table.
What are the basic archetypical type characters you would use for your NPCs and the pre-made characters? And we will start with the hero. The NPC hero channels the spirit of a wise mentor like Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars, or a stalwart leader like King Arthur in the Arthurian legend. These characters can offer guidance and support to the PCs. One type is the quest giver, This hero NPC embodies the classic call to adventure moment. They present the players with a central conflict, challenge, or objective that sets the narrative in motion. They can be the ally or the guide. As the PCs progress, the hero NPC can become a trusted ally, offering guidance, support, and even joining them on perilous quests. This fosters a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. In some instances, a hero NPC could be a rival party competing for the same goal or resource. This creates tension and raises the stakes, forcing players to strategize and outmaneuver their competition. For pre-made character heroes, craft a compelling backstory that highlights past victories and leaves room for the players to join the current adventure. Think of Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, the farm boy with hidden potential who becomes a key player in a galactic conflict. The Trickster. This NPC introduces a mischievous merchant like Jack Sparrow, Pirates of the Caribbean, who might offer valuable goods at a steep price, or a cunning con artist with a hidden agenda, reminiscent of characters like Loki in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These NPC tricksters keep players on their toes and add a dose of unpredictable humor or intrigue. They can be things like the information broker, who, with their cunning nature, might possess valuable information the players need to progress, but they'll likely demand a hefty price, gold, favors, or perhaps a good prank played on another NPC or PC. They can also be an obstacle. The trickster can also be a mischievous obstacle, employing deception and misdirection to hinder the player's progress. This injects humor and forces players to think creatively to overcome the challenge. They can also be the unexpected ally. Despite their initial trickery, a well-played trickster NPC could become an unexpected ally, revealing a hidden agenda that aligns with the player's goals. A trickster pre-made character is designed with a shady past, like Han Solo of Star Wars, who possesses unique skills and can offer unconventional solutions for a price. This creates an interesting dynamic where players must weigh the benefits of the trickster's help against potential consequences.
Another role is the mentor. For NPC use, envision a seasoned adventurer like Gandalf the Grey from Lord of the Rings, or a powerful scholar akin to Professor X from X-Men. These NPC mentors serve as repositories of knowledge and experience, offering valuable insights and guidance to the player characters. They can be a knowledge source, with the mentor NPC offering a wealth of knowledge about the world, the lore, and perhaps even the specific conflict that the players face. They can provide crucial clues, historical context, and even decipher ancient texts. They can also be a trainer, offering guidance to specific player characters, enhancing their abilities, and preparing them for upcoming challenges. And they can also serve as a moral compass. In morally ambiguous situations, the mentor NPC can act as a voice of reason, reminding the players of the potential consequences of their actions and guiding them towards a more righteous path. You can create a pre-made mentor with a wealth of experience who can offer the other players crucial information or training, but they themselves might be required to complete a task or to prove themselves worthy before they're able to share their knowledge. This can add an element of challenge or reward to the player experience. Another core role is the outcast or the rebel. When making an NPC, you can introduce them as a skilled tracker living in the wilderness, similar to Aragorn, or a social pariah with valuable knowledge like Remy from Ratatouille. These NPC outcasts offer unique perspectives and can become valuable allies to the player characters. Although they're a loner, they are not alone, and they will not be actively working against the party. They can be an unconventional ally. With their unique perspectives and outsider status, they can offer alternative solutions to problems or access to hidden locations or resources that traditional channels cannot provide. They can also be a catalyst for change. The outcast NPC's presence or actions can spark a larger conflict within the narrative, forcing the players to choose sides or potentially alter the course of the story. And there can also be an unexpected betrayal. While initially appearing helpful, the outcast NPC's dark secret or hidden agenda could lead to a shocking betrayal. When creating a pre-made character, you can develop the outcast with a dark secret or a controversial past, like Wolverine from X-Men, that motivates them to join the party. This creates character with more depth and complexity, offering a fresh perspective on the adventure.
Consider less traditional NPC roles that can add unique flavor and more depth to your one-shot. Things like oracles, guides, rivals with different motivations, red herrings who provide misleading information, and other interesting characters. These must all have at least a tangential connection to the one-shot, and this is best done through the adventure background.
The way that I've seen most one-shots broken down is they have in the beginning of the packet or PDF is a couple of pages that are safe for players, and then it goes into the GM eyes only. Usually there's like a break or something, or like a page. It's like no players beyond this point. And then everything, like the first thing essentially on that next page is like the adventure background.
Yep, that's exactly how it goes. The contents of the adventure background is the whole story complete with the cast of characters. It has all kinds of extra information that isn't really necessary to play the one-shot as it's originally presented in the main body of your adventure. But when your players decide to go kind of basically off script and you don't really want to break it, you can just go into the adventure background, pull out what you need to alter your course of action that you had originally presented. It allows you to move from a completely social game to a little bit of social and combat mix to a fully combat mix that is entirely based on what the players decide to do. Therefore, you have a wealth of choice with minimal of effort to have to create on the spot. As an example, the Game Masters group wants a hack and slash adventure, so they have created that style of one-shot, but during the game, the players have veered into a more investigative style. The Game Master can now dig into the adventure background to pull out more details and NPCs to fulfill the player's sudden need for a more social type of play. These can then be swapped with hack and slash encounters. This ensures the feeling of player agency while allowing the GM to not stress over such a drastic change to what they had originally made the presented one-shot to be.
So from what I understand, which, being limited as it is, I'm leaning heavily on Daz and M here. But, one-shots, they've got brief bursts of adventure, but they also demand compelling NPCs to shine. Like, why would you keep going through an adventure if there's nothing interesting on the other side of it, right? But what truly motivates these characters? Let's talk about the desires that drive NPCs in your one-shot, striking a balance between detailed development and streamlined gameplay. Especially for those of us who might be writing a one-shot, but not performing it as a game master ourselves. A motivations compass, finding the why. While good versus evil is a classic, one-shots benefit from a richer tapestry of motivations. Move beyond simplistic good or evil. Perhaps a seemingly benevolent scholar craves forbidden knowledge at any cost, or a gruff guard might be fiercely loyal to a fault, even if it means protecting a corrupt leader. Explore shades of gray. Not every NPC is a selfless hero. Some might be driven by a primal instinct for survival. Imagine a desperate bandit preying on travelers, or a cunning merchant willing to betray anyone for a hefty profit. The thirst for knowledge can be a potent motivator. An archaeologist might risk their life or somebody else's life to unearth a lost civilization's secrets, or a scholar might seek forbidden lore to gain an edge over their rivals. Good intentions can pave the road to hell. A zealous paladin might interpret their code in a twisted way, or a vigilante might resort to brutal tactics in their pursuit of justice. Consider the NPC's stake in the conflict. Are they directly affected by the one-shot's central conflict? Like a villager whose crops are threatened by a monster. Tailoring their motivations to this connection adds depth. And especially too, just as somebody who writes stories, good versus evil has been out of the jive for a very long time. If you're writing a story that is, these ones are good, these ones are bad, there's no one in the middle. Like, I'm sorry, but those are the stories we wrote more than 100 years ago. The rise of modernism came with the rise of a wash of gray. And that continues now in the postmodern age and the post-postmodern age. So it's not just about being good or bad. That cackling evildoer with the mustache that's twirling it and going, I can get you through the maze, my pretties. Ha ha ha. All you have to give me is your firstborn. I'm sure it has its place. I'm sure people can perform that character very entertainingly. But if we're looking at creating something that's going to be memorable, that might not be it.
It really depends on the theme genre, like the vibe of your one shot. I would say if you're trying to be serious, do not go for that. But a lot of people write very campy one shots, which is something that I love. I love camp. I'll say it a million times on this podcast. So there is a market, I guess you could say, for the mustache twirly cliche. But if you are doing that, you're not doing it seriously. When you see that nowadays, at least, it is usually in a satirical way.
Yeah, you're making fun of it. Having the the fettuccine twirling pasta monster in culinary pods being like, I'll get you through the bolognese fields if only you see your hair. My hair, my glorious fusilli. Some fettuccine twirling pasta mancer who's like, I'll get you through that lava field, but the lava field is actually bolognese sauce and it's bubbling hot.
Exactly.
Anyway, well, we were on a roll there for a bit. Okay. Motivation and action, shaping interactions. An NPC's desires dictate their interactions with the players. You can have the helpful ally, an NPC motivated by the same goal as the players, like a ranger protecting the forest from the same monster's threat. They might offer aid, information, or even join the party. Opportunistic schemers, an NPC driven by self-interest, sort of like Mr. Fettuccine, or potentially a merchant seeking to exploit the chaos caused by the conflict for personal gain. And they might offer misleading information in an attempt to manipulate the players or even try to steal their hard-earned loot. If they are going to steal their hard-earned loot, I really hope they get some hard-earned comeuppance. Otherwise, I just end the game mad. And something in between. Most interactions fall somewhere between the two. You've got the fearful villager offering cryptic warnings in exchange for protection, or a jaded mercenary driven by the promise of wealth offering their skills for a hefty price. You got to find the sweet spot. When I was looking at Top Shelf, that's my first one shot that I made based in my Judge of Mystics universe, I knew that the main characters I had as NPCs, characters like Donovan, Finnegan the Fae, Caleb Malthison, Tuya Dragonova, they are the main characters of the novels. But in here, you just needed to know some surface level stuff about them. Like you needed to know that Donovan was a Genganger. He's a sort of corporeal ghost and a bartender. Don't piss him off. You have Finnegan the Fae, who is a little bit of a nymphomaniac Fae Lord, and he really loves his pub. He's the owner of the pub. And then you've got the no-nonsense idea of Caleb, this kind of judge figure, this sort of lawman, and his incredibly wonderful and powerfully pugilistic future bride, Tuya, as a bouncer. And so, just enough to kind of get you into, okay, who are these people? All right, Tuya's the bouncer, don't cross her. Donovan's, he's a lot of fun until you make him mad, and then because he's a corporeal ghost, he could turn into this demonic force. So just watch out, don't poke the bear. But you just have enough to kind of get you going, and then the GM will take care of the rest depending on how the players are reacting to certain things and to give room to pivot and deke around. So obviously not everybody is selling a series of novels to correspond with a one-shot, but that same feel of just sort of being a little bit, I don't want to say it this way, but plastic, bendable when it comes to your NPCs. You're making them, you give enough details so that the GM knows who this person is, what their function is in the storyline, and then the game master can take that and modify and adjust as needs be with the players and how the players react. Don't write a monologue for the ending if the character is going to cease to exist after the first round. Focus on the essentials. Craft a core motivation and a clear connection to the one-shot's conflict. This provides a strong foundation for their interactions with the players, and leave that improvisation room. Don't overplan. Over planning is just going to kind of suck the fun out because it's going to keep people in a rigid frame when that's not necessarily what they need in a one shot. They just need to know how this person is important and how they function, and then you can move on. And, you can link their backstories. I linked the backstories of the people in Top Shelf by having all of them be regulars at Finnegan's Pub. Donovan is the bartender. Tuya is the bouncer. Caleb is just kind of always there because if you want to know more, read the books. Char and Ash came out last year, so did Son of Abel, and Book of Rebels is coming out soon. You get to see Zeus in a diaper and you get to cry, so I think it's a pretty good balance. Speaking of balance, we have things like personality quirks that Emily Armstrong is about to tell us about.
So when you're building your NPCs, you want to go beyond the basics with their personalities and quirks. Forget flat descriptions. You want to breathe life into your NPCs with distinct personalities that manifest in everything they do. Speech patterns. The scholarly mage speaks in eloquent pronouncements, and the gruff warrior tends to favor blunt commands. Perhaps the nervous merchant stutters and fidgets while the charismatic rogue spins tales with a silver tongue. Mannerisms. How do they carry themselves? The arrogant noble might hold their head high and flick their cloak dismissively, while the timid barkeep might constantly wipe down their mug with a nervous tremor. Body language. Actions speak louder than words. Imagine the confident fighter standing tall with arms crossed, the shifty informant darting glances around nervously, or the stoic monk radiating an aura of calm. Now let's add those unforgettable quirks to make your NPCs truly stand out. Like a scholar's fidget, constantly pushing up their spectacles, absent-mindedly muttering theories under their breath, or nervously tapping their foot, creating a sense of endearing awkwardness. Or a dwarf's metaphors, spicing up their language with colorful metaphors relating to mining or craftsmanship, adding a touch of humor and revealing their background. These traits aren't just window dressing, they influence the story. They can be a source of comedic relief, the nervous scholar's fumbling attempts at heroism, or the bard's melodramatic pronouncements can inject humor into tense situations. Or dramatic tension, the stoic monk's sudden outburst of anger, or the charismatic rogue's unsettlingly calm demeanor can heighten dramatic tension and foreshadow hidden motives. And while foreshadowing these true intentions, a seemingly helpful NPC who avoids eye contact or fidgets with hidden weapons might hint at ulterior motives, keeping players guessing.
Every NPC has a story, and some stories hold secrets that can add depth and intrigue to your one-shot. Things like hidden agendas, not everyone is who they appear to be. The seemingly benevolent quest giver might be manipulating the players for their own ends. Or the gruff bartender could be a secret agent for a rival faction. Vampires of the Masquerade, I am looking at you. Haunted pasts. Past experiences can shape an NPC's personality and motivations. Perhaps this quirky inventor lost a loved one in a tragic accident, fueling their obsession with creating safety devices. Mysterious connections. A cryptic symbol etched into the scholar's amulet, a familiar name uttered by the bandit leader. These hints of hidden connections can spark player curiosity and foreshadow a plot twist. In your one-shot, be careful of how many plot twists you have, because you only have so much time for the entire adventure to take place within one session. So you need to be very time considerate of what you're putting into your one-shot. Don't just dump secrets on the players. Reveal them gradually throughout the one-shot. Clues and observations. Scatter subtle clues throughout the one-shot. I would like to recommend that if you are going to have clues in a one-shot, because it is limited time, you have 3 different ways for the same clue to be found. For each clue you're going to have. This is actually a universal rule for all adventures, but have 3 different ways for the same clue to be found. That way you can be prepared for whichever way your players go, and you already can have like, hey, they're going to do hack and slash. Well, okay, instead of finding information about where to do this or that, they find a key to unlock this box of stuff that has a clue in it, type of thing. Because you can only have so many things happen within your one shot before you run out of time. The more observant players might actively search for clues or attempt to pry into the NPC's path. Reward their inquisitiveness with well-placed hints that nudge them towards the truth. Don't forget there's a web of connections. There is a world beyond the NPC. How does the NPC interact with others? Is there a tense rivalry with a fellow scholar, a forbidden romance with a rival faction's leader, or a strained relationship with a family member? These dynamics add layers of complexity to the narrative. And remember, not every NPC needs a complex backstory, but for those who play a pivotal role in your one-shot, weaving in secrets and connections can make them far more intriguing and memorable. Consider having a recurring NPC the players encounter throughout the one-shot. This is important because it can limit the number of NPCs you actually need on hand. And it also is, when this character shows up again, it's immediate signal to the players that it's going to be you delivering whatever style that this NPC delivered previously. It's a way of rapidly getting right to the players if you need to direct them, especially because time is on a constraint. If you need to hurry things along, you can pop this one in there. And also, if you need to slow things down, you can have the opposite NPC type, depending on the complexity of your one-shot. But keep those in mind. You don't always have to have them, but keep them in mind because they are extremely valuable in a one-shot.
Make sure that when you are creating balance within your one-shot, that your NPCs are put in intentional places instead of just scattered around. You want to guide people towards where they're going in this one limited space of an adventure. You don't want people to think that they can just go talk to every single person in a crowd. You want to make sure that they're sort of kettled into where they need to go. Not that you're going to control their choices, but just so there are limited places to go in a one-shot, since you don't have time for a big sprawling adventure. That's not what this is. This is a short story. It's a flash piece. It's meant to be one and done.
When creating a one-shot, a writer has the option of creating pre-made characters for the players to choose from.
New players often face a barrage of unfamiliar terms and choices during character creation, such as races, classes, and abilities. Pre-made characters eliminate this confusion, offering a ready-made character sheet that's ready to play.
Pre-made characters save time at the start of your one-shot, letting you dive into the adventure faster. It's a reduced time commitment, skipping the ability score rolling, class selection, and backstory brainstorming. Pre-made characters offer a ready-to-play solution, generally saving players 30 to 45 minutes or more compared to traditional character creation. Pre-made characters also help players connect with the one-shot's narrative from the get-go. The story and the role are sort of baked in. Each pre-made PC comes with a defined backstory and motivations directly tied to the one-shot's central conflict. This provides players with a framework for understanding their character's place in the world and their role in the adventure. It's also a springboard for creativity. Instead of starting from scratch, players have a foundation to build upon. They can personalize the predefined backstory, adding their own unique quirks and nuances to the character. This fosters creative expression while ensuring the character remains relevant to the one-shot's narrative. And it also makes decisions easier. Knowing their character's motivations and goals help players make choices that align with their persona. This leads to more in-character role-playing and a richer gameplay experience.
I cannot tell you more how true this is. As a complete noob, my first ever attempt at TTRPGs was basically a one-shot. It was a one-shot for me, not necessarily for the others. The GM thought that I should read a 200-page, this is how this character is made in this specific sci-fi TTRPG system. It was stupidly complicated. And by the end of it, I ended up so frustrated. I just said, just make me a character. Just do it. It was so daunting. And everything I tried to do didn't work for reasons that I didn't know. And if I had had just a pre-made character to just jump in with to learn where the lines are, it would have been a far different experience.
As somebody who has started writing one-shots, I try to include pre-generated characters in all of my one-shots, but I also make sure to note that players can also create their own characters. Just because you have pre-generated characters or pre-made characters prepared doesn't mean that they have to use them. But I think having them there makes it a much more accessible game.
The character sheet itself becomes a tutorial. New players can learn about different character classes, abilities, and mechanics by reading through the pre-made sheet. This hands-on experience is a much smoother introduction than abstract explanations. As a game master who's introduced many new players, just give them a character sheet with stuff on it and then just point out things as you go. They will be happy, they will enjoy it, and they will have lots of fun. While pre-made characters are fantastic for beginners, experienced players might crave more unique concepts or customization options. Here's how to cater to both. Diverse builds offer a selection of pre-made characters with varied class builds, like a battle mage fighter or a stealth-focused rogue. This allows experienced players to choose a character that aligns with their preferred playstyle while still benefiting from the pre-made framework. Consider allowing minor customization options within the pre-made characters themselves. This could involve letting players choose their starting equipment from a pre-selected list or offering a few options for tweaking minor abilities to personalize their character. I would also like to point out that the personality, the attitude, and genders and all this other things that they would like to have within their character, just let them do it. The whole reason of a pre-gen is they're already woven into your one-shot. And after that, all the other minutia details you can leave to the player.
Like, let them have room to be creative while still providing these characters. I have in my one-shot in Beckett Suites, all of the pre-mades have a role that they fulfill, like the waiter or the housekeeping, so that, like, that's not their class, but it gives them sort of a mindset for where their character fits.
No, I think it makes sense. You know, you want to give enough for somebody to go on, but not enough that you're holding their hand. Creating characters for one-shots and TTRPGs and things like this reminds me far more of writing a script for film than it ever does anything about a novel. I honestly do think that creating NPCs, creating characters like pre-made characters for a one-shot, you are setting the stage for an actor about to perform and about to improv with this character. So you're giving them enough to be able to go, okay, so I have this, this, and this. In my experience, these three things mean that I'm going to create this character like this. But there's still that wiggle room there. Like, you don't want to stifle an actor when you're developing a screenplay. You want to have that screenplay there, but you want to give them the ability to create their own character out of it. And a lot of the times that means having less creative control over your own work. But that's the job. That's what it's about. It's about giving them a mirror and with a couple of window dressings. When we're talking about one-shots, that's either going to be the game master with NPCs, or it's going to be the individual player who already has preconceived notions in their mind about what they want to do.
As a writer crafting one-shots, we usually don't get to talk to the GM and describe the characters we've created. But there are a few ways to deal with this. Provide a strong foundation for each character. You don't want to overscript every detail, just offer a brief physical description focusing on distinct features. And while not essential, consider including some kind of sketch or reference image to visually represent the character. This can be a great starting point for GMs to imagine the character's appearance and demeanor. Provide short snippets of dialogue to showcase the NPC's personality and speech patterns. This gives GMs a concrete example to build upon when role-playing the character during gameplay. You can create a toolkit within your one-shot adventure that empowers your GMs to effectively portray your characters, fostering memorable interactions and enriching the overall player experience. Join us next week as we discuss the world-building essentials of a one-shot and how to craft encounters.
And with that, all you rebels, writers, and gamers, we're wrapping up another mind-bending episode of We Aren't Dead Yet, your go-to for all things TTRPG and speculative. Stay wild, curious, and keep defying the ordinary. Until next time, hit up WADY at vraedamedia.ca/WADY. That's VRAEYDAMEDIA.ca/WADY. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, check out our merch store. We'll see you next week for more news, views, and hullabaloos. So keep the fires burning, the dice rolling, and the pages turning. And remember, there's always something we can do, because we aren't dead yet.